welcome to Point Positivity. I'm here with, I forgot to say my name. Hello, welcome to Points Positivity. I am Carlie Abbott, and I'm joined with
Ivy Higginbotham,
Olivia Dunn,
and Kendra.
Today we're going to be discussing the daily life of a student and what that entails. So let's get started. So
I feel like this is good because we have four different, very different perspectives on, because obviously, what grade are you? Are you guys in different grades?
Me and Ivy's in the same, we're both in 10th.
Okay, so I'm a senior, and then you're a junior?
yeah, I'm a junior.
Yeah. And then we have two 10th graders. So I feel like sophomores. So who wants to go first?
I think I'll start. I've always heard that junior year is like more difficult. Like there's the SAT, the ACT. You have to take all those standardized tests. But for me, it wasn't really that bad. Like I mean, the schoolwork is tough, but at the same time, it's just kind of like you're growing up. You're learning how to become an adult. And I feel like senior year is just like that last final moment of your childhood. So junior year is when it all like starts coming for you. So
That's definitely how I feel. Because that's what everyone said. Everyone was like, "Oh, junior year is awful,"
Yeah.
blah 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 blah. But it really wasn't. And I think that all just depends on what classes you take. Because I know that a lot of my friends, my other friends, you guys are my friends, but my other friends, they had a hard time because they're taking honors and college classes, and then they've got band and choir and a whole bunch of other stuff going on. And I really didn't. I didn't take any honors or college classes because I didn't need to. What is thought to be the important things in education really wasn't a goal for me because I knew halfway through junior year what I wanted to do. I wanted to do broadcasting. So the second that you find something to focus on, especially like that you feel passionate enough to find a career with, that's when you really need to set your goals and make it easy for yourself, because I don't need to know geometry. Like, I don't need to be an expert in geometry to set up a camera and edit a video. That's not something I need to do. So I didn't really prioritize those things. Not saying that you shouldn't, but you need to find the things that you do need to prioritize, 100%.
so true.
Like, as a sophomore, I am balancing sports. I do take a lot of honors classes. I do broadcasting and, like, all of this. And it's hard balancing, like, an after-school life and, like, a social life with school sports, school going on, even, like, after-school activities for, like, broadcasting. I love it, don't get me wrong. But, like, it is hard to balance the life. And I feel like this year I took a lot of, like, those honors classes so that next year I think I could focus on the classes that I needed to take. And it would make my senior year a lot easier because if you figure out what you want to do, your junior year and your senior year can be so much easier because you're taking those classes for if you go to, like, a college or, like, just like a after high school thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like balancing a social life between doing these and deadlines that are at weird times at, like, 5:59 p.m., like, before 6 o'clock. Who come up with that, first of all? And it's, I don't know, for me, it is very difficult to, I don't know, just being a student is difficult. It's not fun.
Like, I didn't mean to, like, say that school is easy. It definitely is not easy. For a lot of kids, it's hard. You've got tons of stuff going on, but for me, I really don't. That's what I meant by saying that. Because the only thing I really have after school is, like, broadcasting. That's it. But there are definitely a lot of, like, my other friends, they've got so much stuff going on all the time, including jobs. Like, I don't even have a job, but, like, I don't have a job yet. Not yet. But I know Natalie, she's got a job, and, she works. And before she was working, till, like, midnight some nights. And she takes college classes on top of all this stuff and then trying to do broadcasting and band. And it was impossible. It just felt impossible. Like,
Jeez.
I will never understand how in the world she did that. It makes no sense. But she did. Definitely a stronger person than I am.
Yeah, I was about to say that. That's strong right there.
Yeah.
She is the most organized person I've ever met in my life. She comes in broadcasting class every morning, gets her little journal out, gets her notebook out, gets her computer out.
Cutest planner ever.
Yes, she writes out her planners. She writes out her journals, writes about, like, what she's going to do that day, and she checks all those off her list.
every week.
I inspire to be like that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking down to the T. Like, clean my room, rewater my flowers, like everything. She's got a whole notebook just for a checklist. And like,
And she checks them each week.
she checks them. She
is that person.
Yeah, and she has obviously BKR and stuff like that, and she just started a new job. And I think it's going to be better because she doesn't work as late. But besides the point, you know, people like that whose schedules are like absolutely banana brains, like kids in sports, you know, especially too, or kids that live out, you know, far ways away from the place that they go to school, you know, that's what I'm saying.
40 minutes.
Yeah.
I live 30.
So what's your daily life look like?
I kind of like struggle a lot. Like when I'm struggling in one class, I feel like it affects my mood in the rest of my classes.
Yeah.
Like I have my really hard classes in the morning. I have broadcasting is a hard class for me because like I take it so seriously, and sometimes other people don't, and it kind of affects my mood. But like I have a very good broadcast group. Like I feel like we get along swell, and that just it changes my mood throughout the days, and it makes me happy. Like if Zoe comes in, she's like Kendra, I get happy, and I'm like Zoe, and we're all just like loving each other because we're a family. Like it's like a sport. Like I see you guys as my family. Like I see basketball, track, soccer. I do all those things, but I don't think I've ever been so connected to one group in my life other than broadcasting.
I 100% agree with that. Like, broadcasting never fails to make me happy.
Yeah.
Honestly.
It can definitely make me mad. But most of the time, I get really disappointed because I've got my first periods or my first 2 periods are first period broadcasting, second period chamber choir. And those are with people that I love being around all the time. And not to say that they're easy, because they can be very challenging. But they, you know, I'm doing something that I love. And then next class, you know, I go in and I've got Spanish 2. You know, I love Spanish 2. It's great, and it's good because Miss Stearns is such a loving person.
I love Miss Stearns.
Oh my gosh, she's amazing.
She is.
Mm-hmm.
But the things that we do in there are very challenging. I can get very frustrated. But I never feel discouraged because Miss Stearns doesn't make me feel that way. And I feel like also with that sort of thing, it really depends on the way that the teacher looks at the class. Because if the teacher's like, you guys suck, you know, you guys are awful, like it's bad.
I know a
you're
teacher
gonna
like
think
that.
you're bad, and you're gonna be in a bad mood, even if you're like not doing that bad in it. You know, if the teacher's upset, then you are too. But I definitely agree with that. That like one period can like change the rest of, you know, your entire day.
Yeah.
So.
Even like your home life can affect like your mood. Like, and no one's gonna know unless you tell them like, hey, this
That's also
happened.
true, yeah.
But sometimes you just don't want to talk about it. Like sometimes you struggle and like you don't have a lot of people to talk to that you can talk to because you'll feel bad. Like I feel like if I talk to someone about my problems, I'm making it all about me that day. Like other people have their problems. And I feel like if we just can like I can serve. Like I'm very conservative like towards how I feel about like the day. But like sometimes I just get overwhelmed and you can just tell. Like I'm always an upbeat person, but like you can tell when I don't feel good or when I'm just having a really bad day. Like even Zoe gives me hugs constantly because I'm walking in like, and then just walking in. Like I mean I can tell when Olivia's having a bad day. I can tell when you're having a bad day, Carlie. I can tell when Ivy's having I can tell when Ivy's having a bad day.
How did this get flipped around on me? Like,
and it's just like that's how close we are. And I just like it's gonna suck when the seniors leave this year. Because, like, we've all come so close, and then, you know, they just got to move on with their life. And it's just not fair. It's not fair. Like, congratulations, though. We love you guys.
I will, like, 100% agree with what you said. Like, it is very overwhelming sometimes. Like, you going from, like, my daily life looks like broadcasting, then I have biology, and then Spanish. I love Spanish. Love Miss Towner. Shout out to Miss Towner. And then I have geometry honors, and I have English, and then all my hard classes are, like, one right after another. Like, all my core classes, I don't have psychology in there, too. But it's very difficult. Like, if one class is very, like, stressful for you or you're worrying about that, I feel like that's going to affect your whole mood. And then especially if, like, a teacher or someone is, like, if you see someone down, don't put them down even more. Like, bring them up. Be like, hey, you know, can I help you with anything? Like, if you're done with something, hey, can I help you with this? Or do you need me to, like, do anything? I just feel like school is a very, like, kept to yourself place, and I think it doesn't need to be, because I think there's a lot of people around the school besides like staff and stuff that could help more than what we do.
I was gonna ask you guys, how do you guys feel about Shield being at the end of the day? Because for me, Shield is like a time where I can just like sit there, relax, think about the day, get homework done. First of all, I do that a lot.
I feel like it's important, but at the same time, like, it took one of our electives away. Like,
Yeah,
that's the
I was
only
gonna
problem
say,
I have with
yeah.
it. Like, I could have done something else. I could have doubled up on another class, but I had to go to Shield instead. And sometimes, like, when you're late to Shield, I'm constantly late for Shield, but don't be late for Shield. You can go to Shield. It's a good place. Like, and I have my homeroom teacher is Miss Stearns, so she's always very understanding. Like, when I had to go get heated for my injury for my back for sports and stuff, I go during Shield, and she understands, and she's just so lovable about it, and she doesn't complain. And then sometimes, like, some of the Shield classes are just randomly put, like the library, the cafeteria. And, like, I know the principal doesn't really like that. You can kind of tell because he doesn't like people roaming the hallways.
Right.
But it's not something that we can control. Because, like, if you put 20 people in a classroom, just one classroom, instead of, like, an open space, it's going to get, like, very crowded and hot, and everyone's just going to, like, go crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, because I'm usually in the broadcasting room for Shield working on something. And I think me and my homeroom teacher have come to a mutual understanding about that sort of thing, you know. And I feel like in a lot of ways, because there was a few years ago, we didn't have, I don't know if you guys remember this, but we didn't have homeroom or Shield. It was all of our classes up until, I think we only had, no, it was 8. No, we had 9 classes that year up until 9th period, and then we all just went home. Like, as soon as that happened, we didn't have, like, those 15 minutes at the beginning of the day, and if we needed to get our report cards or anything, we would get them in our 9th period classes instead of our homeroom. And that doesn't, I've never understood the concept of homeroom or, you know, that sort of stuff. But I feel like if you're going to have, and honestly, by the time, here's how I feel about Shield. By the time you get in there, you open up your computer, you log in, you've got 10 minutes to do stuff. You've got 10 minutes left to you know, maybe write 2 sentences down on a piece of paper. And that can be really helpful for some kids. But for a lot of, for me especially, I don't have a lot of homework, obviously. I feel like there's not enough time to be as productive as they would want us to be in Shield. Because we've got 15 minutes. Is it 15?
In Shield,
Yeah.
30.
Okay. We've got 30 minutes. And then if you've got a class with 20 kids in it, how many, that doesn't add up. You know, that doesn't give you enough time and attention to sit down. Because I feel like if we just made it another class period, that would make it so much easier instead of having 30 minutes for, you know, 25 students to get help individually.
I disagree. I love Shield. Shield is my favorite. But it's probably because I just sit in the library. I don't really go to a class because my homeroom every morning is in the library. And so is my Shield. So I don't really do much, but, like, I think Shield is very, like, I like Shield because, like, if you need to ask a teacher a question or something, like, if you weren't here and you don't have time throughout your day, Shield, you know, go to their class. Or if you need to, like, retake something, Shield. You know, you're not taking away your lunch away like we did before.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, I think it was my 7th grade year, like my first year here, when it was just the 9 periods.
Yeah.
And we went home after that. But I kind of like having Shield at the end of the day and homeroom in the beginning because I feel like it's just a good way to end the day. Like, you can kind of de-stress if you need to. And I feel like it's just a good way to, like, end the day, you know, go home. And for people with sports, like me, I go into the locker room and just go ahead and get dressed and get everything ready so that I'm ready for practice and all of that. I like Shield, but for some students it is not helpful. I know some students just sit there, like, do absolutely nothing.
I think what we can do to remedy that is combine homeroom and Shield at the end of the day. You know, like, I feel like that would be, because what do we do in homeroom other than sit there for 15 minutes and do nothing? You know,
Listen to the morning announcements.
I do the morning announcements. And so I'm never in homeroom anyway. And I know that when I was in homeroom, before we had that whole setup for the announcements, that I would sit and do nothing, you know. And I know that we're supposed to, like, be taking classes and stuff like that. And, like, our teachers are supposed to be giving us presentations. But I feel like that can also be done if we just combine, if we give more time to shield. I feel like that's going to be way more helpful than having two individual things.
I think that, like, and I'm not trying to, like, bash any of the teachers or anyone or, like, any of the staff, but, like, I feel like if we did more, like, if we had something to do, like, oh, you know, you can do this or do that, if they had, like, little papers or something, like crossword puzzles for, like, certain stuff, like, just something, like, for a student to do instead of just sit there. Because we're not supposed to be on our phones, even during Shield. So if there's nothing for us to do, what are they supposed to do? Like, I feel like just sitting there isn't, like, especially in the mornings. Like, sometimes I come in, you know, I'm ready for school, and then I sit down for the 15 minutes or however long, and then I just, like, am tired. And I'm just like, okay, you know, I was up, I was ready, and then now I'm just, like, not.
After you get home, like, how's that?
Oh, yeah.
So you know, you come to school and you go through the day, and then you finally just get to go home. You know, what's that look like?
I feel like for me, like where I have so much sports, I'm kind of like extremely exhausted, like mentally and physically. I feel like school mentally got to me this day, and it just drains all my energy, especially like when I have to go do something like I have to take care of my baby sister, or I have to help my mom with carrying something. And like sometimes it comes off as an attitude towards my parents, and I don't mean for it to. And they're like, "Oh, we've been here, we've done this before." But honestly, I feel like the parents don't understand that like school's changed. Like it's not. I'm not gonna say it was easier back then, but it was less of a stress. Like there's more stuff that we had to do nowadays that we had to get in than what they did back then. And I feel like sometimes parents just take advantage of the fact that like I'm tired, you're tired, and we're just gonna butt heads because you've been at work all day, you've been at school all day. Butting heads is just constantly gonna happen, and I feel like it just affects the entire environment at home sometimes.
Yeah, it's understandable.
I feel like I don't necessarily, because the only thing that I do after school is, you know, maybe acquire practice and then broadcasting. And especially during the times where we don't really have anything going on, like spring season, because we don't really do spring sports all that much. So when I'm not, like, working all the time, and I just, you know, I fortunately get to go home and just, like, chill out, you know, and then I get to go hang out with my friends. So I would say I have it pretty easy. I'm very fortunate for this to be the way that it is. But having that, you know, routine and that mindset of I'm going to go home and I'm not going to do anything. It's really scary to think about that because I'm going to college in like 5 months. So, and
That's so sad.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to reset everything, you know, because during college, they're not going to, like, you hear a bunch of horror stories. You hear different things from different people. You know, teachers tell you, oh, they're not going to do, you know, there's not going to be this way. It's not going to be this easy in college. And then my college friends are all like, no, it's not that bad, you know, or like, they're like, you're going to have like 1 or 2 classes that you're just going to absolutely be miserable. But like the rest of it's fine, you know, and it's not knowing is the scariest part, but I'm not going to have that 8 hours a day in school. I'm going to have mostly free time, and I have to do things by myself because I don't do work at home. I just don't, you know, but I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to sit down and, you know, make a place that in my head now, you know, is like a chill out space, a do nothing space, you know, into a workspace. And they've also obviously got like study rooms and stuff like that up there. But I know that I'm going to have to find the motivation to go to do that. So just finding a new routine is just, that's the scary thing for me, you know. But oh well, I'll live.
I feel like a lot of times, like, coming back to, like, what you said when you said, like, your college friends are like, it's not that bad. Like, teachers will always say, like, something that always, like, stresses me out and aggravates me is, like, teachers always say, oh, I'm just trying to prepare you for college because when I was in college, like, college is so much different from when you were in college. I feel like something that would help is if we had, like, someone from a college, like a college student, come in, like, maybe during a shield time one day and have, like, an assembly or something and tell about, like, the difference, like, about how college is now and, like, how college was and, like, just have, like, those differences so that, like, people know, like, what to expect. Because I feel like a lot of times we expect to go to college and it to be super stressful, super long days. And, yes, it is. But it's also, like, better. Like, it's also more fun, more chill time. Like,
Definitely more independent.
yeah, you're very much more independent, and I feel like we need to, like, get ready for that.
How do you feel
Yeah,
about
Carlie,
after school
what's,
life?
what's your social life like?
I really do not do anything. Like, I mean, I have tutoring after school on Mondays and Fridays, and I drive those days, so it's easy for me to get there. But whenever I go home, I hang out with my family, and we watch TV. I don't really do homework all that much because I have easy classes, just like Olivia said. And if I do have homework, I'm doing it in the homeroom in the morning. So I'd say, like, home life is, like, easy. Like, school doesn't really affect it that much.
You love a family-oriented gal.
Yes.
I mean, I have 2 baby sisters at home, and they're usually asleep when I get home. But when they wake up, I'm always hanging out with them.
Okay, here's something that has been stressing me out really bad recently, and then we'll end this, okay? But I just want to talk about this. Finding a dorm is so scary. So it's a website, right? So you go on there and you make a profile and you answer questions, blah, blah, blah. And then they compare, who you would be compatible with, that sort of stuff. And then they show you all the open rooms that either have no one in them or one other person. And obviously, because I'm going to get a double, because singles are expensive.
Facts.
And I wanted a certain dorm. So I'm looking through all those, and I'm looking at them, and, they're like, it has to be silent when I work. You can make noise when I work. I go to bed at this time. All this sort of stuff. I'm sociable. I'm, inverted. All this sort of stuff. Introverted. But
This camera is inverted.
I'm going to college. But, and, it's so, and I can't see them. I don't know these people. I can't talk to them directly.
There's no pictures?
No. I can't say,
Can you not, like,
I'm gonna
message
cut that
them?
out. You can. But I don't want to, how am I supposed to sit there and be like, hey, I don't know you. I want to live in this room with you.
Come on, Olivia. You're, like, the most outgoing person I've ever met.
I'd be like, hey, yo, you trying to room with me? Like,
That's the thing. It's like I'm so, with new people, you put me in a room with nobody that I know, and I'm not
I'm in a
speaking to
corner.
anybody.
Yeah,
I'm in the
same
corner
way.
until I'm spoken to.
Exactly, until I'm spoken to. And then
Don't
maybe I'll
speak
get out of
unless
my shell.
spoken to. That is my life
Exactly,
motto for,
in a new
like,
situation.
yeah.
And that's where stuff really makes me nervous, but in a place where I'm, like, comfortable in broadcasting, I'll be absolutely crazy if I want to, because who cares?
She is.
and so, and so I was like, I want a room on the second floor. That is where the laundry rooms are, right? And I know that, and I know that one of my other friends, Zoe, is staying in the second floor of this place, and I want to be there too, right? And so I'm looking, and there are plenty of vacant spots, but they just have other people's in those rooms.
Room with Zoe.
And I can't. She already has a room.
Oh, no.
We'll tell Zoe to kick her roommate out.
No, I can't do that. But so I was looking through, and there were plenty of people, but I was just sitting there, and we were compatible. We had the same, like, schedules, kind of, same traits or whatever. And I was like, I can't do this. I don't know, because there's a difference between the view room profile. It's a very small button. And then right under that is live here. And I'm like, I would click that button sometimes and be like, pick a bed. And I'm like, what do you mean pick a bed? I don't even know this person, right? And so it was just a really stressful process. And so I gave in, and I just got a room. Instead of on the second floor, I got one on the 7th floor.
No.
And so, that sort of stuff is really scary. But I feel like that is way bigger of a decision than people make it out to be. You're going to be living with this person every single day in tight quarters, every day.
I couldn't do it.
And, like, sharing a closet, sharing, like, a desk space.
You have to share a closet?
I think they're on separate ones in the dorm that I'm in.
Oh,
but, like, I've seen them, and they're nice dorms, but I feel like sharing the privacy of that space, especially for someone who doesn't have any siblings, and I live on the entire upstairs of my house, and there's no one else there, and if I want to, all I have to do is go downstairs to eat. That's literally it. And so for me to transition into living with someone full-time constantly is absolutely terrifying. And that's not something that, like, is talked about enough. Because you go into dorm rooms and stuff when you're out on college tours, and they're like, oh, yeah, I just moved in, didn't even know the name of the person I was staying with, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, well, you're that kind of person. I am not. I am not that kind of person. And I also got ghosted. I got ghosted by someone. Like, I went onto the website, and there was this girl, and she was like, hey, we're compatible. You want to exchange, social medias? And I was like, yeah, of course. And so I sent her my Instagram and my Snap. And I haven't heard anything back, and it's been like 2 weeks.
Oh.
and so I don't know how I got ghosted by someone who
Reached
wanted
out to you
room with me,
first.
but
She
besides
said
the
she didn't
point.
want to room with me no more. Before we go on, like I have a quick question for that. Since like you brought up the dorms thing, I've always wondered, like, can you, like, if you're rooming with someone and they say like, oh, like I have to be in bed by 11. Like, do not be up. Do not be doing stuff. Can they, like, get you kicked out of that dorm?
Okay,
like,
so
can they just boot their roommate out?
Okay, well, the thing is, I definitely don't know. I don't know how dorms work exactly yet. But I do know that from what I've, like, heard and, like, you know, read and all that sort of stuff, the what they have going on is definitely a very compatible system. So, obviously, you can see that profile and you can see when that person chooses to go to bed, if they're a night owl, if they go to bed at, like, 8 o'clock, right? Mm-hmm. So, you can see that, and you can, you know, see what that schedule looks like. But, obviously, these are also freshman people. And once you get up there, I expect my entire life to change. I expect everything about the schedule that I have right now to change. So right now, I go to sleep anywhere from 10 to like midnight, right? But up there, I might go to bed at
3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, you know, like 3 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock at night. You know, I really don't know. And I feel like that's what is awful about it, is because you don't know who you're going to be once you're there. And you know who you are now, but that's completely different from who you are up there, you know, especially when you're with someone that you don't know. And I feel like that's an important part that really gets skipped over a lot. But also the question of, like, can you get a new roommate? Absolutely. Like in every college that I've been to, that's definitely been a big concern, and that's definitely been one that I think is handled well, is that they're going to try to fix the problem first, obviously, but if it really just can't, then they're going to, you know, obviously let someone move out. And I feel like that's a good, you know, plan. Yeah. Also, I'm hoping that no one really likes my profile, so that way I can just end up with a single. But yeah, so.
Is it like after 1 year you can get an off-campus property?
Yeah. So
like,
freshman year I do have to stay in the dorms, but I guess we'll find out how that goes.
Shout out to Olivia's new dorm person. Who's
I hope
ghosted.
they don't watch this. Yeah, we do probably need to go.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's been a lot longer than expected. But
that's fine.
It's good, so.
Well, that has been the first episode of the brilliant idea that Carlie Abbott came up with. Points Positivity. You want to sign us out?
Yep. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Carlie Abbott.
And
That's Ivy.
She's been Ivy. I've been Olivia.
And I've been Ivy.
I've been Olivia Dunn.
And I've been Kendra.
Alrighty, and we'll see you next
Slay.
time.
Woo!